Yeah, Chelsea 1 down. 10 minutes later, it was 1-1, and it was a point apiece at Stamford Bridge in the London derby. And Enzo Maresca still has only lost 2 Premier League games in charge. Let's hear from those two gentlemen, beginning with the goal scorer, Pedro Neto.
Well, guys, well played. A hard-fought, tactical battle. Overall, Pedro, does it feel like a good day?
No, in the end, we wanted to win, but we had a hard work in front of us. We know that they are a good team. I think we came to the game to win it. Of course, we are not as happy as we wanted to be, but we don't want to lose as well. It's a good point against a tough team.
Yeah, Marc, I said it was hard fought and tactical. What was it like to play in?
Yeah, I think same that Pedro is a tough game. They play each other with the same ideas for a long time. But I think today we play well. For sure, we want to win. But I think we draw. We need to keep going this way. I think we are doing well the thing. So we need to stay in this way and try to push more.
Yeah, and I wanted to ask you both about your respective battles. Pedro, you with Ben White, you were booked. He was booked. From that point on, what do you think about, picking your moments, when to go at him, when to lay it back, when to attack, when to defend?
No, I think it's the moments of the game. So I went to him when I should go, and I hold the game when we should. So it's in terms of reading the game and this kind of stuff, and I think we did really well. We had some moments that we could done better, but I think, like Marc said, we did a really good job, and we want to improve and continue to at this level, because I think the consistency is the important point.
And then tell us about that first Premier League goal for Chelsea, because then that comes when you switch to the right.
Oh, I'm really happy. I'm really happy to help the team. Like I said, this is a group that works really hard every day, so I am one more to help the team, and I'm really happy.
And Marc, just tell us about your battle with Saka. Feels like we've seen quite a few of those over the last few seasons, and perhaps most people would agree you got the better of him today.
No, I think he's a top player. We play like a lot of times in front of each other, but I think he's big respect. I think he's a top player, so I try to do my work. I think he wants to do his work, so it's a good battle, and hopefully we can do more of this.
What is the secret against him? What do you need to do well personally?
Marco Cucurella.
No, I don't know. I try to try to don't give space. I try to be always close to him. We know he's a special talent, so I try to do my work, help my team. I need to do my job in the pitch. So I think today I try to do the best of me, and we give one poison. We need to go.
Yeah, and you joked he needs to be Marc Cucurella. You obviously need to be Pedro Neto. Do you feel like you're growing into that Chelsea shirt? The performances are getting better and better?
Yeah, like I said, I work every day to improve it, and I'm trying to get to my best and continue, so it's what we'll continue to do.
OK, we'll play with the match, named by your old friend Gary Neville, Marc Cucurella.
No, thank you, Pedro. Thank you, Pedro.
I don't know what to say to that, do you?
No, it's a pleasure. I think I try to do my work. Hopefully we can win the game, but the same I say, we have one more point. The league is long, so we need to keep going, keep improving. So in the end of the league, we see where we are.
Play, guys.
Thank you very much, guys.
Well done, Pedro. Well done.
Yeah, they are keeping it going. And Frank, you talk about progression. It's the first time Chelsea have been in the top 3 in the Premier League in 2.5 years. Wow. Where they are tonight.
Yeah, it says it all. It's been a tough, difficult 2 seasons, really, for Chelsea. Especially when you come off the back of 20 years or so of a lot of success. And it's just a reality, and you have to work through that. And I think some of the good fruits of the work that's been done now, you're seeing players that look like they're ready to grow in this team and be in a team that's going to compete for the top 4. So that's why Chelsea are in a good position. There's definitely more stability, individual talent. At the top end of the pitch, they are looking very, very dangerous, whoever they come up against. If they can get that base maybe a bit better and get a bit more sound at the back of the pitch, then they can seriously challenge.
They've lost only 2 games in the Maresca in the league. Are you seeing the right sort of steps into that foundation?
Definitely, yeah. I mean, Chelsea has been crying out, hasn't it, for a bit of continuity, a bit of stability over the recent years. That's not been there. You start thinking Pochettino's getting somewhere towards the end of the season, results are coming, and it might, it looked to many people like, they could be on the right track. And
Did he lay some of these foundations?
Possibly, but then all of a sudden, and he goes and it's a new manager and everybody thinks, right, that's torn up again, let's start again. However, I've been impressed with how quickly he's knitted things together, let's say. There looks like a lot more stability. The team looks quite stable. He's not chopping and changing everything, despite having a big squad. And that's not an easy thing to manage. We've seen Pep Guardiola over the years having quite small, tight squad. Yes, It's detrimental when you get 1 or 2 injuries, but much easier day to day to manage. This is a hard team, hard squad to manage, but he looks from the outside to be doing a good job.
You know, when I read about him, like, brutally just, like, moving players over that side, you lot are in the conference, I'm working with these guys, you kind of knew at some stage he's probably got a plan for the players that he's looking at, what he believes is doing what they're doing right now. So I think that as tough as it might be for those players who are not involved in there, not even on the fringe, but he has now got a base of players that he believes that can take him to where they are now.
I worked with that squad for a short period and I went back and had 30 players, which you would call almost frontline players, internationals. And it's harder when you try and juggle it. You're trying to keep everybody happy. So not only are those 6, 7, 8 players that don't travel for the games, they can't even get in the squad, not happy. But when you try and change them in and change them out, then they're not happy. Sometimes you do have to be a bit brutal. And I think they got to a tipping point in the summer where they went, OK, this is the direction. Let's get the squad, the players that we know we want to move forward. And even if it's harsh, maybe you can see some good things off the back of it.
We've often debated on this show, Frank, about how draining that would be, you know, as a manager. Can you focus on the starting 11, on the squad, or does it take your eye off the ball in many ways? The draining, the having to communicate with these players that are international players and deserve the respect in many ways as well.
Yeah, I think it's a fault in strategy as a club if you allow it to be that too big a squad, because for the manager's point of view, if players want honesty and they want communication, but when you've got too many players of a high level who want and expect and want to play, and you have to give so much time to try and explain to them, which they want to be explained why they're not playing, that is difficult. It's almost taking your eye off the ball to try and keep everybody happy. Reality is you need performance on the pitch. So I think now, hopefully, they've sort of, that issue is becoming less so, and we're seeing that now. And the players that are the strong core of this team, I think, are now going to develop without that problem. And it was particularly, I think, for Graham Potter, was a tough gig at that point, because he had a lot of players there trying to keep everyone happy. It's no matter who you are, doesn't matter what manager you are, you could be the best politician, a diplomat behind the scenes. You cannot keep individuals happy who want to play and represent their clubs.
And was it easier, in a sense, for Maresca to come in and go, right, I'm taking the job, but they're the ones that I want, they're the ones I don't want, and you can add X, Y and Z, and he's then got his group?
Yeah, well, I think nothing's easy because they're all tough jobs, these. But if you have the support and the back end of the club and you're in the right direction, if you're going to decide this player is not for me, the club have to say, OK, we'll find a solution and he'll move on. Or we're very happy for you to be quite strong and decide that they're not going to play and that's what it is, and we'll find the best solution as and when it comes. So everybody has to back the manager, and it feels like he does have that support. And that's, I think, been a big help to the start that he's made.
So around the place, for instance, when you were keeping the seat warm when there were 30 and they were all wondering, is it me this week? Am I going? There doesn't appear to be that uncertainty, if you like, that there is the squad and they're either on the bench or they're playing now because he's got that number.
I think there'll still be some issues. I still think there's a bit of the process to go. Still think they're quite big. But there will also be players that sit on that bench today that have come at big price tags who won't be happy. So that'll be a constant managing process. And you know what? If they deal with it right, these players, and they fight and train well and, you know, they get themselves back in the team, then that's good competition. So there will be those tests along the way because of the way Chelsea have started and now where they're trying to bring it back. But certainly you can see it's much more positive now.
Because at least if you're Enzo Fernandez, £100 and something million World Cup winner, you're not happy, as Frank says, on the bench today, but you know the clarity is there that you're in Maresca's plans, unlike the others on the other side of the training ground.
Well, exactly. Yeah, you've almost got a starting 11, a group of players that are filling the bench, and then a group of, you know, you're not involved at the moment. And that's probably hard to manage those three. It's hard enough to manage two, you know, to sort out your starting 11 and to keep those subs happy, motivated, ready to come on. And you can see the pros and cons for it. I mean, obviously, if anybody, you know, any team is depleted with injuries, then of course it's really helpful to have a big squad. However, I've not managed, which is why I asked Frank, but I know that if I was going to, I'd much prefer to have a smaller squad and not have to, you know, worry about those outside problems. A little bit like what Guardiola does. Now, obviously, as we've spoken before, the problem is then you get an injury to Rodri or someone else big, and then all of a sudden you just haven't got the squad to manage. But I would prefer that than having too many players, because that causes a bigger problem in my eyes.
And is it more balanced, do you think, now? You mentioned the recruitment was more aligned in the summer.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think there's been a lot of criticism, a lot of talk about Chelsea in the last 2 years, and some of it might be valid in terms of the strategy. But I think now you're certainly seeing a place now where it's more balanced. They've got it to a much more balanced position. And as importantly, they've got talent. What they've brought in, you look at Cole Palmer, who's been a sensation, but you look at Neto now, you look at midfield now, Lavia's getting in the team, Cucurella coming through and showing his true self. Gusto was a great recruitment as well. And the manager will always need that talent. So can you get both things right? Bring in good players, get the right side. No manager will want to work with more than 22, 23 players. At one point, Chelsea had gone towards 30 players and plus. That's very, very difficult. And you have to get the balance of experience, middle of the road and youth within that group.
Well, you mentioned that. The average age today, just over 23 in the starting 11.
Yeah. And young players have to wait and they have to be keen to get their opportunity. They can sit on the bench. They can wait for their time to show and wait for their moment. It's sometimes when, at times now, you've probably had certain players that sign with other managers, a bit more experience, not that happy, not content to be there. That's more difficult to manage personally.
But then you look at someone like Enzo who came on for the same kind of monies as Caicedo, and he, as a World Cup winner, it's up to him to try and force himself into that team because, like Frank mentioned, that's what's going to push that team on. Because at the moment I don't think that Enzo gets in front of Lavia or Caicedo, so he's in the group. So it's up to him to push them in that group so as he can get in. So if he gets in, it's going to be difficult for them to get in there. But the balance, what he's got, is because he's been brutal. There's still players around there who probably, when the manager's walking past, are giving him a side eye, not happy with him. Of course there is, because there's players he's just completely cut off. But he's got this balanced and it looks good and it's working, so you can't really argue.
I would have paid money to have seen you in the modern day era amongst 30 Chelsea players being told by
I'd probably be in 11, if I'm going to be honest. I'd like to be confident enough to be in 11.
I think you might have been, just because of your reaction. Dear me. You mentioned Fernandes there. He actually had a small part in the equaliser, didn't they? Pedro Neto's making giant strides and got the equaliser 10 minutes later. Yeah,
sure. It's a nice pass from Enzo. And it's a lovely movement. I think Neto played most of the game on the left, moves to the right-hand side. I think this is where he's going to find his home for Chelsea, moving into this area. It's so natural, it opens up the whole pitch, and then he can do that. Which is an amazing strike from him. A relatively simple pass from Enzo. It's the movement into that space you don't expect to get, really, against Arsenal. But he's managed to get it and it's almost strolled into that area. And then that's a great strike from him.
So much harder to pick up, isn't it? You've ghosted into those positions over the years, Frank, but when you're coming from a wider position, it's very hard to pick up. Whereas if the defender can see if it's a striker dropping off, they've got the decision to come and go or not, haven't they? But when he just ghosted in there, you're thinking, whose man is it? And you're looking and you think, I can't blame him. It's just very difficult to pick up. But there was a big space that he ventured into, and it was a great strike.
Yeah, it was a good goal. And the thing is, when you looked at it, there just seemed to be too much space there. I'm sure we're going to go into it at some stage, but it just felt in this game it was going to take that kind of something like that, a mistake, because it just feels. He's come in, no one's on him, no one's going to press him, no one's closing him down. Too easy, and you can't do that at this level of player because, like I said, I think Neto's probably their best winger. We're going to start seeing him do what he's doing, and Frank's absolutely right. Him coming off of that right is going to be very, very dangerous.
What about Arsenal going in front with the goal? At this point they couldn't hold that a little bit longer than they did?
Obviously, but we're not creating enough for me to say, let's take our time because we'll get something else coming. Yeah, you do. I do believe we've got the players where we can try and create more, but then Martin Odegaard's just come back. Once this goes back to him, this is just quality. I think this is very fortunate. The goalkeeper should be doing everything he can. There's no way he should be scoring in that near post for me. I'm delighted to see it go in, but there's no way, because what you want is the angle's going to get so tight for Martinelli, who we saw missed the earlier. He's now should be coming towards him. There should be no space on that inside. No way. He should be coming towards him now, making it really hard. Close that. So he scored that, and I'm really pleased to see it. But again, I don't think that we create enough chances. That is the problem with Arsenal. We haven't got the killer to know that this game ain't going for us. We might get something like we saw Jackson go through and finish one when he's offside. We need that as well to settle us down. We ain't got that at the moment. That's a worry.
What about that goal from a Chelsea point of view, Frank, defensively?
Yeah, well, it looks too easy at first glance, and then when you actually look at the goal a bit deeper, I think Gusto, as we talk about this higher position, inside position as a fullback, and Madueke out here on the right, He's now, to be fair to Gusto, he runs back, but a right back who's positional has probably got a better view of this in the first place. And then Madueke here has to sit. He's looking at it. He's jogging. He has to sprint back and see the danger because now there's a clear overload on that side of the pitch. So the two players on that side of the pitch, they're arriving back. Gusto tries his most to get there, but then Madueke has to help him out. The best teams have wingers that run up and down and up and down. And that's part of it, Noni's development and learning.
And he learnt the hard way there, being punished.
He did. I mean, he is the defender, of course. Mentality-wise, they do sprint back because that's their number one job. An attacking player, if you get a good one, an honest one, they will sort of do it as well. But as Frank said, the best ones, they do it. They're up and down, up and down. It's the hard yards, and they're the ones that, that's the difference in the end. Madueke there, he didn't really bust a gut, did he? He jogged back. He should have sprinted back, and if he did, they possibly could have won the game.
Those things cost you matches. What's going to happen if Chelsea? The better Chelsea get, now they're in the top three, and the better they get, he can't do that because then Chelsea will lose games because he's not coming back and doing that work. You have to do that work. Saka does that work. The top players will do that work because if I don't do that, and he's got so much time. He's got so much time. He's got so much time. He doesn't do it, and so at some stage, if he doesn't start doing that, the manager's going to say, "Well, I can't trust him. I can't trust him to play because when they're attacking, he's not going to get back." I'd show him that on Monday. I'd show him the video and say, "Look at this. What's happening here?" Can't do that.
What do you two think about the role of the goalkeeper there?
Yeah, I'm surprised that, most goalkeepers would get into a position. It's the position, really. I think he's got his angle slightly wrong. From behind the goal there, it was the best angle. But normally when a goalkeeper, a cross comes in and they turn and now they're facing the other way, they normally just feel out the post. They get their bearings and they know where they are. Normally their arm would come out and they'd just touch the post or whatever, just to get a feel for where they are. At no point does he look where he is, does he feel. I thought he would stick out his arm now and just feel where the post is. That gives him a reference point. He doesn't. He leaves a huge gap. And, if he's a yard to the right, then I don't think you can score anywhere. Wright, he says maybe he should come out and close the angle even more. Yeah, that's definitely an option. But I purely think from that point of view, he's just got his angles wrong.
Yeah, he's left the only gap that he can score. So he's almost offered up, the answer for him to take it on. If he doesn't and gets his positioning right, I think he's lost his bearings, then the ball's probably coming back into the box and then it's a defender's responsibility, and Chelsea have got enough numbers that they may have dealt with it then.
And it proved costly.
It did, yeah. As you mentioned, it was only 10 minutes later that they scored. If you can just hang on for that 15, 20 minutes or whatever, almost get into, they get into panic mode. They're chasing the game then, but to score quite soon after was a huge boost for Arsenal.
Let's get some Arsenal reaction live from Stamford Bridge. Mikel Merino is waiting to speak to us. Mikel, thanks for joining us. You came on into that game. What did you make of it from an Arsenal point of view? 1-1 in the end.
Hi, good evening, everyone. It was a really tough game. It's always difficult to come to Stamford Bridge and try to get the 3 points. I think the team did a good job today here, and obviously we wanted to take the 3 points. Unfortunately, we conceded a goal in a mistake, but we have to take the positive, regroup, and hope we come healthy and ready after the international break.
Was that a test of character for everyone today after the recent couple of weeks?
Yeah, it hasn't been the easiest weeks, but I think the team is with the right mentality. Sometimes football is like this, and in a league like this one, where every game is crucial and every game is at the highest intensity and it's really difficult, it's normal that you have periods of time where you're not winning every single game. But I think the character that the team is showing is amazing, not only before the game or the mentality to when you come to the game, but at the same time today conceding that goal away from home and not letting the other team dictate the tempo and win the game, but being the one who reacts and have the most chances to win the game is also a good sign. Hopefully the team will take the positives from now on and improve.
Mikel, when you came on, I think you touched the ball once and then you burst into the Chelsea penalty area. Were you an inch or two away from the winning goal there?
Yeah, I was a few centimetres away from the winning goal. Sometimes these are the margins in in football. 1 millisecond earlier or later can dictate the sign of the game. But yeah, pretty close, but at the same time, really far away.
And just explain, in terms of the boost before the game, the likes of Ødegaard coming back to play, of course, Declan Rice being fit. You've missed those players in recent weeks.
Yeah, we are not having the easiest start of the season with a lot of injuries, big names, big players being out, and this is not ideal, obviously. You want to have the whole squad available, not only for the starters, but at the same time for the guys coming off the bench to have more depth. And today having Martin back, having Dex in the 11 again is good news for us. Obviously, it will take time for the team to be completely fit and ready to go. But for sure, I hope we have a bright future ahead of us.
Appreciate you joining us, Mikel. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much, guys.
That is Mikel Merino live for you at Stamford Bridge. Back there now for the Chelsea boss, Enzo Maresca.
Enzo, a really, really competitive game, very enjoyable for a neutral. Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the performance was good. We knew them quite well, how difficult it is, and we compete very well. And I think the performance that in this moment for us is very important, was good. So, international break, we can have a rest, recover energy and go again.
It was a lovely goal that Pedro Neto scored for you, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. The goal, but all the performance from Pedro was very good. To be honest, all of them, they were playing good, compete. The important thing is that until the end we have been, playing in the way we want to play, brave, try to build from the back always, and we're going to continue on that.
Do you feel that Moises Caicedo, obviously you weren't here last season, but do you feel that he's now putting together a run of matches which is as good as we've seen from him in a Chelsea jersey? I thought he was very good again today.
As you said, I was not here last year, so I don't know. The only thing I can say since I arrived, he has been top professional every day, and he's played fantastic.
How anxious was that last 10 seconds for you when the ball flashed across your goal? And I'm not sure if it was onside or offside, but no, it was close.
Yeah, the linesman was with the flag guy, so it was offside. But I think defensively we were very good, probably, unless the goal we considered there was some mistake, but for the rest we were good.
And in the steps that you're making with this squad, it's another significant one to challenge Arsenal, go head to head with them, match them and get a good result.
Yeah, it's the way we want to do the things. As you said, try to play face to face against every team. We are Chelsea, so I think it's important also to send this kind of message, and knowing that there are clubs, as I said many times, working with the same manager 5 years, 9 years, so we are in behind of them for sure. But in terms of go for the game and try to win, I said many times, we are Chelsea and we have to do that.
And after he's had his break, he's back at his former club Leicester, the King Power for Chelsea's next game. He's talking about we are Chelsea trying to win. I'm saying they've only been beaten twice, but they have drawn 4 games. Is that if they can just turn a couple of those into wins, they'd be right in the mix, wouldn't they?
Yeah, they'll reflect on that a bit, but this is the Premier League. No game is easy. I think they've drawn against Nottingham Forest and we're seeing what they're doing. Crystal Palace in the game. Another game they drew, so they will be slightly frustrated with that, but I don't think it's easy to go from 70 to 100 or whatever it is. Sometimes that's a bit of a process, and they'll realise that those are the games where they have to, but there are still things that they'll be trying to improve bit by bit. I agree with what you said today. It was a good performance, but can they improve every time they play and close that gap? Yes, I think they're certainly coming at the moment, Chelsea.
And just getting back to that stability, he's only made 15 changes all season to his Premier League team.
Yeah, that's quite impressive.
It's a sea change, isn't it?
It is a sea change. When you looked at the squad, you'd be thinking, how are they going to get any continuity? But he really has stuck to his guns, stuck to the group of players that we touched on earlier, and he's been pretty consistent with who's been playing. Of course, there'll naturally be changes. There's injuries, there's suspensions, and all the rest of it. But he has stuck to it. And I think that's exactly what the doctor ordered for Chelsea at this moment in time. So it's been impressive stuff so far. I've been really impressed with what he's done, stability he's brought, and it's exactly what Chelsea needed.
Yeah, I think the Conference League as well has helped him because
Yeah.
when they're playing that competition, the players that are on the fringe or, developing slightly, he's been able to go in the midweek, there you go, and they're getting some really good results there. So it's allowed him probably to kind of go, this is my A team generally in the Premier League, and then if you guys want to get into that, here's your opportunity to do so.
No, I totally agree with Frank in respect of the Conference League and how it can give people the opportunity to play. But at the same time, I think him coming from Leicester, doing well at Leicester and come to Chelsea in quite a chaotic kind of environment with what was going on with the amount of players was there, and being, like I mentioned earlier, brutal in the way that he said, right, this is who I'm working with. And now I don't know, maybe this season now we're starting and he seems to have it's going right, Caicedo, Lavia, then you've got the four up front with Sancho as well, whether it's Madueke, Palmer, Jackson and Neto or Sancho. That six up front looks really quite solid and ready to go. Once that back's sorted out, like we mentioned earlier, then you're starting to look at a team that will probably be challenging for Premier League.
Let's go back to Stamford Bridge, talk to our good friend Glenn Hoddle, who's been really close to the action today. Glenn, good to see you. What did you make of that today?
I thought it was a decent game, actually. I really do. I thought there was an edge to it. Great atmosphere here. I thought Chelsea started really well. And Arsenal showed a bit of character. I thought Odegaard did really well to last the 90 minutes, the full game. Had a big say, obviously, in the goal. But it ebbed and flowed, It was. I think a draw was probably the right result, a fair result. But I saw a lot of good things from Chelsea. There's no doubt about that. Arsenal responded under pressure a little bit, been on the back foot. They'll be happy with their performance as well in many ways. So it was a decent game here, Steve. It really was, and good atmosphere.
Hi Glenn, it's Michael. I was just wondering what your thoughts were. Obviously you sat in that dugout at Stamford Bridge. What do you think of the Chelsea manager and how he's done so far? All the chopping and changing for so many years now it seemed, but now he looks like he's got a bit of stability. Well,
he's picked off the back of Pochettino. I thought Pochettino was getting it really well. He was getting it right at the back end of the season from Christmas onwards. So he's picked up a really good squad. That's one thing. And I've looked at that squad there. They've got every position gets covered. I think I agree with what Frank said earlier. I said that before the game. The Euro Conference League and the League Cup, his second team get to play, and they get to play in front of packed houses. So I think the harmony in the club, he sorted that out a little bit. Listen, I was behind the bench there. It was interesting, Michael, watching the subs, and all players want to play. It's not all hunky-dory. I can see players were upset about not getting on and some coming off that weren't happy. So, he's done a great job, but he's still got a long way to go. But I think those two other cups are really helping him with keeping players happy. If they go out of them trophies, then I think he'll have a bit more of a problem. But at the moment, he's done a wonderful, wonderful job. And what a good squad he's got. Where Chelsea will be in a year's time will be interesting. I think they'll be looking to really go for possibly the league themselves. They've got such depth. Those two centre-backs, they'll get better and better. They've got cover at that area. For me, they're not far off it. They really aren't. But the harmony that he's keeping and keeping the gel of the players happy, it's easier in them other cup games. It really is. Once if they continue in that, then I think they'll have a happy camp. But they've got to do that.
Glenn, quick question tactically, because you're always a forward-thinking tactical coach. What's your thoughts on the Gusto position particularly? We see a lot of fullbacks moving into sort of central midfield and positional roles or higher up the pitch, but that sort of high inside number 10 position. What's your thoughts on that?
I thought that, Frank. That tied Palmer down on the left-hand side in that little inside forward position. I wouldn't like to play. I mean, Cucurella's done it, but Cucurella had a job to do on Saka today and did it really well. So you couldn't do it with him. He has in the past. So he's chose the right-hand side to put him in there. But what it does is Palmer was playing on the inside left position. For me, Palmer didn't have his best game today, but he needs to be a real 10 where he can float and go across to the right-hand side, cross to the left-hand side, come into the pockets. He couldn't do that today, and it was easier for Partey to always see where he was. When you're playing as a 10, sometimes you can go up and get picked up by the centre-back and then drift off from that position. The midfield players can't see you because you're off the shoulder of them. And he couldn't do that today because Gusto was coming in from the right, and he was told to play just inside Neto and play and link up with him. But it tied him down a little bit, Frank. And for me, it didn't work as well as I think it could have done, having Palmer just floating and going right across what I call the arch, really, the archway just behind as a 10.
Fascinating as always, Glenn. Thank you very much indeed. Stay warm.
Cheers.
Enjoy your evening. Right, and here are the thoughts of the Arsenal boss.
Well, Mikel, where do you stand on that? Do you lean towards disappointed, or do you lean towards being satisfied with what you've seen?
Both, I would say, but obviously the disappointment of not getting the 3 points is bigger, and it will be bigger tomorrow probably after watching it back, because again the team stood up. I think we dominated them. I think we were the better team in many phases and many situations in the game, but after going ahead as well, very disappointed. Well, we concede the goals so poor. It's not in our standards. We don't accept it, and after that again the reaction of the team, unbelievable to do here again against this team, to put them in all the problems that we put them, how aggressive we were. Really proud of them, but at the end we are here to get the 3 points and we didn't manage to do it.
What particularly disappointed you with their goal? Because to me, to the untrained eye, it looked like a moment of high quality from long range, but obviously you didn't see it like that.
It's a second phase set piece. We are disorganized because the set piece is organized in a different way to the low block. We don't reorganize quick enough, and then the ball is inside. You cannot allow a pass that way. And then, of course, there is individual quality of Neto to do that, but still, what we do between the defender and the keeper to defend the spaces, in our standards, not good enough.
So just tell us then about the tactical journey of that game, if you like. It looked like maybe first 10, Cole Palmer found quite a bit of space to the side of Thomas Partey. Yeah. Then you seem to address that, and like you say,
it took us 5 minutes to defend better the space and understand the jumps and the spaces that we had to prevent. When we've done that, obviously we're much more dominant. We regained a lot of the balls. Then they became much more direct because they didn't want to take the risk. We didn't do enough with all the balls that we regained. Again, in open space, we should have damaged them much more. And after that, giving the ball away, sometimes we allowed them to run. Which was the contrary what we wanted, but after that the team it showed them again the commitment, the desire that they have to win, and they are all disappointed there. That's the thing.
So that thing not making the most of regains, is that a confidence thing? Does that come from a few weeks of not getting the results you'd like, or not?
It comes a lot of sometimes technical mistakes, sometimes decisions, sometimes the opponent. But again, I'm very proud of the team, how they react, the confidence that they play here. You can play in a different way here. I've seen a lot of teams here, big teams play here, nowhere near what we've done. But we wanted the 3 points and we didn't get them.
What did you make of Martin Odegaard's return? Go on.
I just said to them, a player's been out for 6 weeks, really barely trained with the team for 2 days. To be able to play at this level, 95, 96 minutes in the Premier League is chapeau. It tells you about how he looks after himself and the leadership and the character that he has.
Do you think it just makes a massive difference to the flow? Obviously, in the goal you score, he wins it high, open play goal. He's like the spider at the middle of the web.
Right, that's it. Everything flows better when players like this, and the chemistry that they have with some of them. That's something that we miss because with the injuries that we had, we have to change a lot of time. The fullback, the defensive line, the midfield, the front line. Today we clicked much better. You could see that everything was flowing. We see the difficulties that they had to adjust a lot of things in their high press. But again, it's about winning.
I was lastly just going to ask you, when you get to this final international break of the 3, it sometimes feels like the end of the start of the season. How would you sum up what this first part's been like for you? Injuries, red cards, really challenging fixture list. You find yourself 9 points at the top, which is a lot, but 4 to City. So how do you see where you are, and how's it been for you?
Given perspective, I will analyse everything better right now, but obviously we had a very clear intention how we're going to evolve the team and what we could do as a team. And that was about making the pieces in the car much better, much more efficient, different, more unpredictable. What we find out is that every day we have to change something big. The engine, the wheels, the steering wheel, because we have problem after problem. But the way the team adapts, normally the team goes down. And this team is got an unbelievable energy and spirit and courage to play the way we want to play. So I'm very proud of them.
So is that the big thing for you coming up, to make the team more unpredictable, your work?
No, but now my biggest fear is physically get everybody at their best, because we have players out there that they cannot play more than 60 minutes, that they are playing and struggling, and we have to change a lot of things and affect a lot of things. So what I want at the international break, that we are fully fit and we have the squad equipped, and with that I'm fully confident that we're going to have a great season.
And sorry, I know I'm going on here, but how are Saka and Rice?
They don't look very good, to be fair.
So what, long term or?
I don't know, but they both couldn't finish the game, so not good.
Okay. Thanks, Mikel.
Thank you.
OK, many interesting facets to that from Mikel Arteta. He's a little worried about Saka and Wright at the end. We'll come to Odegaard in a minute. Lots of praise for the spirit and the courage, but the way Arsenal conceded the goal, he's bitterly disappointed about. Just try and explain to us what exactly is angering himself there.
Well, yeah, when you look at the goal and the amount of space that Neto came into, and you can see it, you can instantly. Obviously, it comes from the corner. So what happens is, I'm sure Frank can explain it better. But once he's talking about the second phase, so we're talking about now. So we're dealing with now. Once this ball's recycled out here, there's a massive hole where the referee is there. You can see that hole there. So once it goes into Enzo here, look at Neto. Now, that's too much space there. And that's what he's talking about with the second phase.
Yeah,
so much space there.
There's a lot of time there. So there's two pretty long phases of play. And what happens is Arsenal, if you sit this down, now as Neto plays it to Fernandes and moves out, this is what Arsenal don't normally give you, this space centre. And the reason being is Declan Rice and Partey, the two midfield players, should be in that position. They've had enough time to get into that position. Now that space is far too big. And then he steps into that space, and when you give him that kind of time to do that. So really, as the ball's gone from one side to the other through long two phases, somebody has to push the midfield players back up into
Would that be something they work on all the time?
Absolutely.
That's why he's so disappointed.
Yeah, I mean, they would be, but sometimes there are things that happen in games that involve the players making decisions, and maybe
taking
somebody
responsibility.
sort of speaking to someone. At least if one player steps into that area, at least. It's not easy to reorganise instantly, but he'll be looking at that and saying that's the exact reason. Because if they're in that position, he doesn't stroll into that space. He strolls onto Declan Rice, and he can't get his shot away. So they'll look back at that with a bit of regret on that.
A lot would have to go on with that, because even the right back, he would have to come in to push someone across, and then they'll realise, right, I'm coming across. Because if you see that, you can see him. He's out there. The right back might be maybe Ben White. When he comes in, then that will push someone else across, but they just didn't get it right in the moment because they're in the game and just like in the heat of the game.
Yeah, Ben White comes inside and says to them, you push up and then I leave Mudryk. Mudryk's on the other side. He's not the problem. The problem is that central space. And Arsenal, very good. They've played a lot of games where they go into that deep 4-4-2 and they make it really hard to play through you. They've done it against Manchester City with 10 men at times. And then they've just slipped for a moment there and Chelsea score.
And to back that up, that's the first goal they've conceded from outside the penalty area all season, Arsenal.
Yeah, as Frank says, they can get the two blocks in and defend well from a deep position. They were just caught out there, just reshuffling, reorganising a little bit too late. Normally, if the ball goes from one side, because it was a corner one side and it almost goes to the other side, you almost let's keep the positions and defend it like it's a corner from the other side because the cross is coming in. It's once the ball then goes back, I think that's the sign to reshuffle, isn't it, and reorganise and get your midfield players back out, and that's the gap that they left, and that was the problem.
OK, so he's slightly worried about Saka and Rice, but Odegaard he was talking about there, he's only trained a couple of days with the team, 6 weeks out, he's played the whole game, and not just played the whole game, he's affected the game hugely.
Well, what was interesting, what Mikel said is when you get a player that comes back and he can play at that level for that long, after being out for the time he's been out for, he's done his rehab and all the work he's needed to do very, very well, because he's come back and he's been able to play 95, 96 minutes. So that's just testament to him, and like the manager was saying, it's testament to him, to his leadership, the fact that he reads everything what's going on out there, how much Arsenal need him at the moment, and he's come in and he's not rushed it back, because obviously he wouldn't have been able to last the 96 minutes or whatever it was, and he's come back, and he was one of the main reasons as to why I was a lot more confident at the start of this game, and he proved it.
He's such an important cog in Arsenal's wheel, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, he takes up so many great positions that make it difficult for Arsenal to be pressed, because he's always moving in positions. Glenn's talking about there, that little arc, or sort of like floating in, and sometimes he floats outside, makes it very hard to be picked up. Other players will trust him when they're on the pitch. There's a feeling of confidence within them, and then you just see the extra half a second he takes for his assist, where he stays on the ball and then finds the perfect pass. They've lacked that bit of finesse, and it's made them look a bit more straightforward as a team, I think, without him. Now he's back, I think you're going to see a different Arsenal.
And that's why they've dropped so many points without him. It's not rocket science, is it?
No, listen, every team, as much as we all think it's a team game, and of course it is, there's always going to be a handful of players that are just so important to teams, and they go out the team and it changes virtually everything. Every team has them, you know, it's no surprise, you know, you look at Manchester City and it's Haaland and Rodri, you look at Liverpool, it's Virgil van Dijk, it's Mo Salah, you know, Arsenal, the same, isn't it? Saliba. You know, a huge player, world-class player, Ødegaard. There's just certain players that you really don't want to be without, and he's certainly one of them.
You know what, Steve? The one thing that does worry me is that when you look at Arsenal, I think we've dropped, I think it's 8 points now from leading positions out of the 11 games. We seem to be dropping back, and I'd like to see us still push forward. Because if a team's good enough to break through and then go and score, at least you're trying to be on the front foot. I think that Arsenal, with the points that they're behind, they do need to get back on the front foot because, again, they kind of invited that on.
And you talk about points behind. So after 11, there you go. The most at this stage that people have clawed back, Blackburn and twice Manchester United on 8, and Arsenal are 9 behind. So they have to defy history, but it is possible in this crazy season from now on?
Well, you have to have that hope, don't you? That's the thing. It probably kills you, the hope. But, like, again, seeing Arsenal's team, apart from the left-back, we've got a right-footed player playing in left-back in Jiria Timber. You know, the team was pretty strong. If we could put that team out and they could stay fit, we obviously got worry now because Saka and Declan Rice. But if you could put that team out, then you have to be confident that they're going to be able to pull it back and win some games. I think the longer they go where they don't win the games and the more they go away from home, they're going to have to win those games because at some stage, because of Arsenal's lack of chances created, at some stage you're going to have to go on some form of run, Steve, to catch these other teams. That is what's got to happen with Arsenal at some stage.
I think the other thing as well is that it's 8 points, but it was a big step forward today. That was a good performance today. That will give them confidence going forward. If it was 8 points and it was
they're 9. Eight's the most ever achieved from this stage.
But it feels like they were back in business today to me. That felt like a real... That was Arsenal again today. In recent weeks, it's not really looked like Arsenal. Creativity's not been there. But it's 9 points, yes, but it feels like the big players are coming back. Looks like their confidence is coming back. It looks to me like they're going to start picking up points very soon.
I agree with that. I think of a tough run, I don't think we should forget what they are and what they've built. And they're a good team. They've got a very good coach. They're a physical team, strong team. There may be some points you look at the number 9 that we talk about. That typically teams need to win the league. An absolute number 9. They don't have that option so much. But other than that, I think you look at it's 9 points to Liverpool, who have not had that moment. They've not had that blip. That could be at some stage for them. So they certainly shouldn't give up that hope.
Yeah.
And Liverpool, we talked about at the top of the show, 15 wins in 17 in all competitions. Would you expect them to have some sort of dry spell? The way you said yesterday, they haven't controlled a single game for 90 minutes yet, and they're top of the league. Clear.
Yeah, absolutely. And no team goes through the season unscathed with no injuries and perfect performances all the time. Of course, Liverpool will. Liverpool had a reasonably soft start to the season. They played one or two of the tougher teams in recent weeks. But they've played a lot of the lesser teams, let's say, in the league early on. So things are going to get tougher. They've got to play Manchester City twice, I think. They've still got to play Arsenal, of course. Listen, there's so long a time left in this league. But, you know, it is a fair amount of points, and they wouldn't want to extend it any more, put it that way. They need to start now eating into that.
I think seeing it when they drew with us, and it weren't a great performance from them. What I got from that is that spine is so good. Even though they haven't got the goalkeeper in, that spine is so good and everything around it. Gravenberch's form, even Curtis Jones's form, you have to look at that and say, if they could keep that up alongside, they've got so many players, Diaz, Darwin Núñez, Mo Salah, people who can score goals. Like Michael said there, that the start was quite easy. You make that easy and then you get confidence and momentum from that. You look at them now, and Liverpool, especially at Anfield, you really do fancy that they can beat anybody there. They'd have to go for a really bad spell for them to do it now. Now that they've got these points, they know what it takes to continue to win. Now it's going to be down to chances taken and injuries to stop Liverpool now. Because they're in a position, what they know this position. I know it's early in the season, we're getting ready for this international break, we're going to get into Christmas. But Liverpool know what to do from here. It's going to be interesting to see how they finish this off.
And when you're in a title run, it's important if and when Liverpool have this spell, that if you're Arsenal, if you're City, that you react yourselves and try and take advantage of it.
Yeah, and City probably will do because they've done it so many times. They've got the massive experience of doing it. I think Arsenal are building towards that. But yeah, I think they're both strong enough to do that. So that remains to be seen. I think it will come down to personnel and the top players. We see what the loss of Rodri has done to Manchester City. Yeah. You see Kevin De Bruyne now getting back into the team. Can he stay fit because of what he means to them? So there are so many questions going forward. So I think it's certainly And I think everything is far from done. Arsenal will be very happy with the positive nature of their performance today. I would say.
And you can see Mikel almost pleading there, can I have a fully fit firing squad after the international break? Because he's had so many disruptions.
I know, it's been unfortunate. But that happened. Injuries are something you can't can't do anything about, but I'd like to see us creating a lot more chances. Simple. Why are you still looking at me?
No, because I'm looking for a solution to what you've said about 5 times today. Quite giving me one.
You scared me.
No.
It scared me. No. I think with the players we've got, I think that now we're in a position where we can start challenging again.
OK, brilliant. Great company. Michael, Frank, Wrighty, thank you very much indeed. Great fun, all square, in the London derby from the 4 of us. We'll see you soon.